The story of Real Steel begins in 1956 when author Richard Matheson published his short story Steel. A few years after publication, Matheson got hired to write for The Twilight Zone, and in 1963, he decided to adapt Steel, which aired in the season 5, episode 2 spot. In brief, the story follows a pair of men who own a human-like robot and hope to win some money through a robot boxing match. One of the men used to be a boxer before he got outlawed, and in short, personally boxes the android opponent himself in the end. I recommend giving it a read, especially considering its length. Fast forwarding to the future, The Simpsons loosely adapts Steel's premise of man vs. machine in season 15, episode 9, iRobot, which aired in 2004, and is also a play on words on iRobot. It was around this time that writer Dan Gilroy had written and sold the Real Steel screenplay to DreamWorks, between 2003 and 2005 depending on the source. Soon after, in 2008, DreamWorks Animation split from Paramount Pictures and they took the script with them. The following year, David Levy pitched a heartwarming version to DreamWorks founder Steven Spielberg, and he greenlit the project. Once granted, Levy fulfilled his commitment by injecting the father-son dynamic into the robot boxing screenplay, drawing significant inspiration from The Champ, a film centered around a former boxer and his son. One giant piece of advice Spielberg gave was to use practical robots as much as possible. Spielberg had learned that using practical effects brought out better performances from the actors, and more importantly, the editing and CGI was done quicker and with greater results. With this in mind, the robots were built and production began.
I'm going to take you back a little earlier. I remember meeting Sean in an airport lounge.
It was New York.
It was New York.
And we were strangers. I believe we were both with our family.
And I asked Sean, and we never stopped talking and became friends. Like, we hung out, and it was like, we've got to find something to do together. I remember finally Sean said, I've got it. I've got the thing for us.
This was an interesting origin story because when Hugh and I got this script, the script was good, but it was definitely about boxing robots, about this kind of imagined sport, but where Hugh and I really had a meeting of the minds, and more critically a meeting of the hearts, was, okay, let's do a cool as hell boxing robot action movie, but let's actually use that as a Trojan horse for a father-son movie. And
Real Steel was released on October 7th, 2011, taking the #1 spot for the weekend ahead of The Ides of March and Dolphin Tale. On a budget of $110 million, it opened with $27 million in the first weekend. In its final theatrical run, it brought in $85 million domestically, $213 million internationally, for a worldwide total of $299 million. The movie runs at 127 minutes and is rated PG-13 for violence, intense action, and a brief language. In genre, it is classified as action, drama, sci-fi, and sport. IMDb has the movie at 7.1 out of 10 and Metacritic at 56. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have it at one single percentage above from being considered rotten at 60% and audience at 73%. In pure honesty, Roger Ebert writes, "Sometimes you go into a movie with low expectations and are pleasantly surprised." Real Steel was nominated for an Oscar at the 84th Academy Awards for Best Achievement in Visual Effects. However, it unfortunately lost to Hugo.
Here are the nominees for achievement in visual effects:
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Hugo; Real Steel, Rise of the Planet of the Apes; Transformers, Dark of the Moon.
And the Oscar goes to Hugo. Rob Legato, Joss Williams.
The movie surpassed expectations, most likely due to the fact that it had a heart and no one was expecting that. Additionally, it had improved on things that the Transformers franchise had failed to meet. Following the premiere, rumors of a sequel have circulated, with fans expressing their desire to return to that world, but nothing has been confirmed yet. In 2022, reports were coming out that Real Steel will be getting a TV series on Disney+.
All these scumbags looking to wheel well for money, right?
Hugh Jackman was born on October 12, 1968 in Sydney, Australia. In Real Steel, he takes on the role of Charlie Kenton, who has custody of Max for the summer and is trying to make money off of boxing robots. Prior to Real Steel, he was in Snowflower and the Secret Fan and Butter, both released in 2011. After Real Steel, he lent his voice to Rise of the Guardians and starred in Les Miserables, where he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Performance in a Leading Role, both released in 2012. Dakota Goyo was born on August 22, 1999 in Toronto, Canada. Dakota plays as Max, who happens to have the hobby of watching robot boxing and tags along his dad before joining the sport himself. Prior to Real Steel, he starred in My Neighbor's Secret in 2009 and Thor in 2011. After Real Steel, he also lent his voice to Rise of the Guardians in 2012 and then starred in Dark Skies in 2013.
He can fight my robot Metro.
Director Sean Levy was born on July 23, 1968 in Montreal, Canada. Prior to Real Steel, he had directed both Night at the Museum films in 2006 and 2009, with Date Night coming in at 2010. Afterwards, he went on to direct a number of TV movies, with The Internship releasing in 2013, and This Is Where I Leave You in 2014.
Oh, Jesus, Fred, you just met her last night.
I love her.
You love her after one night.
She's a gymnast.
Whoa, you're good right there. Who are you?
I'm Kate. I'm one of the passengers of Flight 815.
The film begins with Hugh Jackman driving through the heart of Middle America late at night, heading towards a carnival. By dawn, a quick phone call establishes that he owes multiple people money, and at the carnival we see Jackman's character Charlie negotiating a fight between his robot and a bull while betting money he doesn't have. The rodeo battle goes just as expected, with Charlie losing. Not only does he lose the fight, but he also loses his robot. Just as he's trying to get away, he's informed that his ex has died and he has custody of his son. The son's aunt argues that he's better off with him, and so Charlie sells the custody rights to the uncle. However, due to circumstances, Charlie has the kid for the summer. With the money on hand, he decides to buy a new fighting robot. In the gym, Charlie unboxes his new prize fighter and with a quick demonstration, immediately signs up for a fight.
Gravity 1, downtown.
In the underground arena, Charlie's overconfidence pushes him to sign up for the main event. Unfortunately, Charlie's not accustomed to the controls and gets completely obliterated. Charlie saves the voice controls as well as other parts and heads off to a salvage yard to scavenge for another robot. Through a series of events, Max stumbles upon a buried robot and digs it out. They bring the robot to the gym where it is determined to be an old sparring robot designed mainly to take a hit. After breathing new life into the robot with new parts and a wash, Max is eager to take him to the ring, this time as his owner and operator. The following morning, Max learns about how well a boxer Charlie was in the past right before they hit the road again. That night, Anthony Mackie's character suggests to fight at the lower levels first. The next day, Charlie takes Max to the zoo where a fight is immediately arranged. With Max at the helm, Adam is able to defeat the other opponent and win some cash for them both. That night, Max spends the entire night upgrading Adam by adding the voice commands, as well as adding boxing moves through its shadow function, and requests Charlie to teach the robot moves that he had learned from his professional boxing career. We quickly move through a number of fights montage style as Adam begins to win to a point where he's starting to get recognized and is offered a fight in the WRB League. Fast forwarding to the fight night, the duo are surprised to find out that the owners behind the world famous Zeus wants to buy Adam, but Max staunchly refuses.
He's not for sale.
This leads them to move forward with the undercard fight against Twin Cities. After all the upgrades and training, Max and Charlie are able to win the fight and without hesitation challenge Zeus to a fight. Due to not paying his bet at the carnival, Charlie gets beaten and he decides to take Max back to his aunt and uncle. The issue gets resolved after a couple of scenes where he gets a pep talk from Bailey. He returns to Max's arms to apologize and also informs him that they got the Zeus fight. We fast forward to the arena where Adam is about to face off with Zeus for 5 rounds. Just as the bell rings, Zeus begins pummeling Adam. The round continues to the shock of everyone as he is able to take a hit after hit, leading him to survive the first round. Round 2, 3, and 4 continue with Adam finally trading shots with Zeus and Zeus's team losing confidence. Round 4 ends with Adam's voice command not working and Max getting the idea to switch to shadow mode for round 5. Using Adam as his avatar, Charlie begins to shadowbox Zeus and taking the lead in the fight for once. Both robots survive the brutal 5 rounds and the decision goes to the judges. To everyone's disappointment, Zeus wins the decision vote. However, it is clear that the audience loves the underdog Adam. The film ends with both father and son celebrating in victory.